Welcome to Partnerships for Profit, the podcast where we bring you inside the world of joint ventures, strategic partnerships, and powerful collaborations. Whether you're looking to expand your network, find new referral partners, or scale your business, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Partnerships for Profit. I'm your host, Ana Del Rio, and this week we're joined by Tressa Yonekawa, a neuroscience-based communication expert, helping leaders build the one thing that they can't outsource: deeply fulfilling relationships. That kind of took me aback when I was like, when you're reading ahead of what it is that you're saying, and I'm like, oh, wow, that's actually kind of deep there. Thanks so much for being on the show here, Tressa. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here because this is such a great opportunity and you have such an amazing audience who is going to get this right away.
Absolutely.
Recognize themselves and be able to use these tools.
Absolutely. Well, let's just jump right in. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your upbringing, not your upbringing, but your background. I mean, we don't need your blood type and all that, just anything that you'd like to share for us to know about you.
I've spent the last 3 decades in corporate. I am a co-founder of a Culture First consultancy out of Portland, Oregon. We work mainly with global retail and other populations. But I think the thing that has driven me from the beginning of time, right, since I was a kid, was how do we do communication better? How can we communicate in a way so that people are heard and seen? And of course, when we have that calling, for me especially, it comes from a very chaotic family history. And so most of the people who I know who are doing really big things have some chaos in their background. And we go seeking for the stability, or we go seeking for a continuation of that chaos in different ways through our lives. And so for me, I think I was very fortunate, I'll say with a question mark, to have had a drowning death experience or near-death experience when I was 4 at Santa Cruz on the beach in California. And my whole family was there, and I was moving my pink plastic bucket from here to there, and I stepped off a sandbar and just went down. And my experience was one of being a part of all communication. Every thought and every word that was being spoken, everywhere, all at once. And because I was in this state, whatever that was, whatever you believe, I call it this love beyond love, because there wasn't the human emotion tied to love. It was just a bliss of just being present, fully present. And then immediately after that, I was watching my body be revived on the beach, and I heard, "You have work to do." Now in a 4-year-old body and brain, I had no idea what that meant. I still hear that in my whole system every single day and every day since then. And I got it so messed up and wrong for literally decades. I thought I just needed to work more. I had 3 and 4 jobs. I had 2 full-time jobs and a part-time job going through grad school. It didn't make sense, but I was trying to do what I thought I was supposed to do, what I thought was, which was to work more. Now I understand that it's about helping people fully live. My work is helping people fully live. And the way I do that is by helping people communicate and have the best relationships of their lives, whether that's in a corporate setting or in a personal relationship, spousal, family setting. And the most important thing I think to say at the outset of this is that exactly the same tools that I learned and developed and that worked with high-level leaders, those work to make the best lovers. Those work to make the best parents. Those work to make the best human beings. And so I see that over 3 decades being true, it's just really exciting to be able to share some of those tools with you and with your listeners today.
I have to say, I got goosebumps when you were telling that story, because it's like for you to be able to have that, not an epiphany, but such a profound realization at that age, and to run with it as best as you could, and to remember, I mean, hello, you're 4, but is unreal.
Yeah,
I
now I see that, but for me, it's just been my life.
of course.
But what it means for you and for everybody that we encounter today is that my whole life has been spent in preparation for this moment of full presence with you all, to be able to take a look at what relationship and communication and connection are for you, and to maybe be able to shift that into the catapult of what it needs to be. Because life is short, no matter how long.
100%.
Life is short. So how can we fully show up and fully live this life in the best possible ways together?
No, absolutely. What approach do you take in your method with helping people?
The first thing I do, well, can I walk you through?
Yeah,
Can we
let's
just do an
do it.
experiment? All right. So
Yeah.
for everybody listening, and for you with me here today, we're just going to take a breath, because we forget that this over 10,000-year-old technology of using breath is one of the most vital, powerful tools that we have. It can literally slow down time for us in our brain, and it can definitely, research proven, calm our brains.
Just
When we have calm in our brains, now we have choices. If we don't have that calm in our brains and in our systems, we run on patterns.
You're speaking to my soul right now. Hopefully I don't start crying on this. No, really. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
And that kind of emotional impact that you're having is a recognition of self. It's not really anything I'm doing or I'm smart enough to do. It's simply that I'm able to reflect the truths of you that we haven't been taught. We were taught so much education, marketing, all those things through our lives, but we've never been taught, most of us, how to clearly communicate, and that the core, the root of any problems that we have with communication come from self-worth and the adoption of patterns that we learned from other people who probably didn't have the practice of self-worth and presence and the self-awareness to bring emotional safety, so that we could be curious, so that we could build trust. And now here we are,
Here we
spending all our time in therapy trying to figure it out. Right. So this is the fast track to getting there. And I have a lot of confidence in talk therapy. If you're doing it, please continue doing it.
Right.
And I'm an entrepreneur. My brain might work a little bit differently. All of ours do when we're entrepreneurs.
Right.
When we're in business, when we're leaders, when we're parents, and we don't have a lot of time to just sit and talk about it. It's also valuable, but I know how to get there faster. I know the tools to give you to get there faster to the best relationships of your life. And it starts internally. It starts with us. It starts with self-worth. It starts with being present and being able to sit or stand and recognize what our patterns are. Once we look and see what those patterns are that are impacting us in a negative way, we can't unsee them. And now we have choices. They can't rule us anymore.
Right. We have having the choices and then making the decision to actually choose the one that's going to be more lucrative for you, I think is like one of the most difficult things in the realization.
Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of my clients over the past 30 years have said some form of, listen, I have everything the world told me I needed to have to be successful. Tell me why I'm not happy.
Are they chasing something that they shouldn't be chasing, essentially? Or, yeah.
We're not good at sitting still.
No, we're not.
And taking a breath and letting the mud settle and noticing what's actually true. And it impacts every aspect of our lives. But people that I worked with 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, this last week, tell me that once they get this, once they understand how to use these tools, and breath being the first one, so please keep breathing through, once they understand this, that every aspect of their lives gets better. Their kids stop calling them a jerk when they walk in the door. They start doing more family things. Their spouses want to spend time with them. Their relationships get better. Their teams get better. Their leadership gets better. It's so mind-blowing to me that it's all interconnected, and yet it also makes total sense.
Absolutely. Holy moly. I mean, you say leaders can't outsource their relationships, right? So why do even the most successful people struggle with connection?
I think, that's such a beautiful question. The most successful people, and I'm going to say, and all of us, struggle with connection because we have been taught to not listen to ourselves. We have been taught to outsource how we perceive success, how we perceive what parenting looks like, what partnering looks like, all of those things.
Yes.
Right? But we have not been taught to trust ourselves. We do not trust ourselves. And that comes from, again, this core wound that almost all of us have if you're not a sociopath, which is self-worth. Right? And so, but at these top levels of life, of socioeconomic status, of leadership, of being high profile, we're not supposed to have these problems. And so the majority of my couples clients are people who I will never say their names in public. And if I do, it will not be related to anything that I'm doing, because they don't want people to know that they're having problems, because they have hardcore learned that if they appear to be dysfunctional in this way, fractured, broken in this way, that people aren't going to buy what they're doing, aren't going to hire them, so I think it's really sad in our world that we're supposed to put up this facade of perfection. And I've had so many of my clients say, yeah, we're a hot mess, but the pictures look good, right?
Wow.
And they're being serious, but the pictures look good, right? Like we look okay, right? And that to me is so sad, because this life, like, we're supposed to be here to experience fully, like ice cream, and love and playfulness and joy and singing your brains out on a road trip, like with the windows down on the highway. Like, all of those things are supposed to be here for us to know ourselves and each other better.
You are just a beautiful person, you know that. So you merge neuroscience with soul work. What's the science behind feeling deeply seen, understood, and loved?
Oh, I love this question. So my degrees are in neuroscience for cognition, how our brains work, specifically for communication. And so with those degrees came this really interesting, I'm going to say first, because of how I do what I do, because of how I came through and learned about communication and continue every day to learn about communication, I thought I had to have a bunch of letters behind my name in order to justify the magic that is just being present and dealing with self-worth and understanding what these prompts are that we're going to go through today. So I got these degrees in the neuroscience of cognition and communication. What I know about the brain is that we are always sorting for survival. And we've modernized it so we're not just like, looking behind bushes kinds of things. And yet, when somebody says something to us, immediately we want to protect ourselves.
Right.
So if I come in and I say, and I get on the screen with you or in person with you, and I say, hey, great to see you. Gosh, what's going on with your hair today? What happens? What do you notice?
Like, what's wrong with my hair? And I'm like, why? You get self-conscious, insecure. Yeah.
Self-conscious, insecure, that comes from a need to survive. Because if I don't belong, then my life is at risk. If I don't belong and I'm ostracized from the herd and I'm othered, my life is at risk. And that's one of the oldest parts of our brain, right? Wants us to survive. It's just trying to protect us. But in so doing, we've built up so much armor, like armor on our bones, right? And all of these shields so that I'm okay. And so that's where when I talk to people who have road rage, I'm going to use this, which none of you do, I'm sure. And of course, it's never happened with you. When we look at road rage, that is an assault, an affront to our status, our place in the world. in this lifetime. Somebody cuts me off. There's a big difference between what I do now, which is, oh my gosh, you must be in a big hurry. Blessings.
Right.
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 Versus any other option I might take.
Right.
Which would include expletives, you know?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Birds flying,
So,
you know.
yeah, exactly. Or I mean, and it can get really aggressive. We know that people have lost their lives on roadways and it makes no sense to my brain. And yet I also understand from a neurocognitive perspective where that's coming from. When our self-worth is not good, the biggest bullies have the lowest self-worth.
Yep.
And so when we see that, it is not a function of leadership or strength. It is a function of trying to protect that weak, soft, mushy place in us. That's really beautiful, but we've learned that it's not, and that at all costs we must appear to be other than the truth of us. And that messes with us. That takes us completely out of the game that is the playfulness and fun and excitement of knowing each other.
My mind is blown. I mean, that's so true. Tressa, you have my brain just kind of like thinking of so many different like things. It's so true. And it seems such a simple concept, you know, as you know, explained correctly. It just sounds so simple.
It is, and yet it is in the simplicity that our human minds say, oh no, it needs to be a process. Like, you're full of baloney. It can't be that easy. It has to be harder. Give me the worksheet. Give me the workshop. You know, and really, if people could just get these pieces, I would get to work myself out of a job, and I would be able to find something else to do. I could go, you know, sit on the beach and write graphic novels or whatever, you know. And that's a dream of mine. I just want to write articles.
Really?
I just, you know, but until that happens, I'm here for you. And we can do a couple of experimental exercises if you'd like to.
Oh, sure. That sounds fun.
Okay.
Let's do it.
All right. So as you're taking a deep breath, you're just going to notice what one of the biggest like recurring fights you have in your relationship, or problems that you have with other people, right? That's a big one. That's a reflection of ourselves. We can get into that more. But anything that really like irritates you about someone else, anything that comes up for you that's been problematic, that has created chaos or friction or fighting between you and anybody else. So just bring that into presence and be thinking about that. And then notice, take a deep breath and notice, just kind of open it if you can, and notice what the core of that is. And notice if that is self-worth, if that's peace, if that's what does it come from? Not being treated fairly. Can it be related back to how you feel about yourself, about your own self-worth and judgment about yourself? And then let's go all the way back to the first time you had that feeling. Notice the feeling that comes up when you think about the problems. Go all the way back to the first time you had that feeling. Bring that into presence and just notice what's happening in that time, how old you are. And then kind of seek back a little bit farther and say, is there a time before that I can remember that happening? And go back as far as you can. And just breathe and notice you're safe right now. And then fly forward and notice all the times in your life where this has impacted you in a negative way. This thing that you learned from a look, from words, from something else that somebody else did or said in your presence when you were, and you can fill in the blank, being happy, being laughing, being too loud in their opinion, whatever it is. Yeah. And I can pretty much guarantee that the first time it happened was before you were 7 years old. 7. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that it has impacted your life in negative ways that probably have messed up relationship for you. And one of the things that happens is that we bring forth It's not conscious. You're not doing this on a conscious level. It's not intentional. But we bring forward that piece which we interpreted as love, part of love, and it's wrong. We've brought it forward and we've tried to make other people recreate that feeling in us again and again and again. Not necessarily with the same actions, but with grown-up actions that now we make other people our improv partner.
Oh my God.
What's coming up for you?
I don't care. Like abandonment. And wow, this is a different type of show. So I grew up as a military brat. My father was in the military.
We're doing magic here.
My father was in the military. Wow. And he used to go away a lot. Because that was his job. He would have to go away. And being that he was in the military, you never know. And I was so young, you never know whether or not he was going to come back. And then realizing now that, because you said go back, right? And then going forward and realizing each time that may have impacted, most probably have impacted my relationships, whether it be with friends, whether it be, partners, lovers, anything like that. It's that fear is so loud that it becomes what actually ends up happening. And I didn't even realize that I create that situation, that scenario.
Yeah, deep breath. And then we ask, why do I keep attracting people who do this to me, who are like this?
Because it's familiar.
Yeah, deep breath. Thank you for sharing that. That is exactly what everybody experiences in some form. We all have our story around it, but it's pretty much, that early age range, we either are given the burden of this kind of behavior from somebody else who, I'm going to say, the adults around us, no matter how practiced or educated they are, even today, there's a weakness and selfishness when we don't have self-awareness and self-worth. And so we don't give our kids or ourselves the opportunity to have the stability and presence to offer each other that safety, because there's a certain safety that we've learned in all of us suffering, in none of us being sure, in none of us having safety, in all of us like glomming onto each other out of need, necessity, and instead of out of joy and fulfillment. Jeez. We can get there. We can absolutely get there.
Tressa, you are just, that's really, really powerful stuff. And I am so glad that we had an opportunity to talk today and run through this exercise, because I was not expecting to be that intense, but that was powerful, like on a whole different level. And I thank you so much for being on the show. I'm super excited to be working with you. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Anna, thank you. Thank you for sharing you, and thank you for letting me be here today. What an honor to be here with you and all of your listeners. You can find me on all the socials at Tressa Yonekawa. My website right now is epicoto, epicoto.com, and that's the epicenter of the vibration of sound, whether you can hear or not, so that we are all connected by that.
There you guys have it. This was such an amazing episode. Thank you again, Tressa. And I hope that everybody got some powerful, message, because there was a lot of nuggets in this one. But again, thank you. And thanks everybody for watching, and have a great, great, great and blessed rest of your day. Take care.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Partnerships for Profit. We hope you've gained valuable insights on how to form profitable partnerships and take your business to the next level. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. Got a partnership story to share or someone you'd like to see featured on the show? Reach out to us. Until next time, keep building those partnerships for profit.